I'm Patrick Watson, I'm an astrologer, and you're watching Big Fat Astrovlog, and today I'm going to be delivering a monthly horoscope for all Virgo risings for the month of August 2018. Now, I'm not talking about Virgo suns, I'm talking about Virgo risings, so this horoscope applies to you if the tropical sign of Virgo was rising on the eastern horizon at the time and place of your birth. So if you're not sure what rising sign you have, you need your birth date, birth time, very important, and birthplace. Go to www.astro.com and put in your birth details and you should be able to find out what rising sign you have. So, the reason I can kind of tell in general what will be happening for all Virgo risings is because of whole sign houses. The relationship of the signs to the ascending sign tells us what house topics each sign will be concerned with. So as you can see on the inner wheel here, I have all of the 12 different house topics. On the inner wheel, I have the glyphs, and I also have a key here with, the correspondences between the glyph and which planet represents, as well as a one-word summary of kind of what each planet does, or celestial object, and then of course the zodiac signs on the outer ring. So the first interesting thing that happens in August of 2018 is there is a solar eclipse on August 11th. You can see here's the glyph for the sun and the moon, and they're together. Normally this would be a new moon, but because of its proximity to the North Node, its intersecting point, we know that it's the solar eclipse. So this will begin a year-long narrative related to the planets it's in aspect with in the sky and in your chart, your natal chart specifically, such as if you have any planets around these degrees in Leo, then that's what will kind of color it. But from what I can tell, at least, just knowing that you have a Virgo rising, is that this eclipse will concern some of the topics of the 12th. Rivalries, enemies, as well as seclusion, and the things that you're kind of unaware of, like, not necessarily in the best way. The 12th house is considered a less positive house or a weaker house. So having a solar eclipse in Leo in the 12th shows that this will be like a year-long period where you kind of have to deal with people who try to undermine you, and people who aren't necessarily like cheering on for you. And the fact that it's in Leo suggests that these are probably people who are otherwise considered like popular or powerful as people in their social cliques or communities. So like those are the kind of people who you end up potentially having to sort of take on as, like, I guess, rivals or enemies. So that's kind of annoying, right? And the other thing is it isn't necessarily so negative, though. It doesn't have to be, because it is configured with Jupiter, which is a benefic, a good doing planet, and its conjunction of Mercury could mean a few different things. So let's talk a bit about Mercury. At the beginning of the month, Mercury will be retrograde. Mercury retrograde periods are just periods where Mercury appears to be going backward relative, to our view here on Earth. And it was when Mercury passes between the Earth and the Sun. And these periods are coincident with, communication mishaps, schedule mix-ups and mishaps, technology breaking, things having to be replaced, running into people you haven't run into a long time, mixed up messages. The communication itself gets kind of warbled, in that time. And what I've often noticed with Mercury retrogrades is oftentimes that people have to revisit or reflect on a choice or opportunity or thing that comes up that they kind of vacillate on. It's kind of hard to come down one way or the other. So you're making a lot of pro and con lists in this time. And for you, it's clear that with Mercury going retrograde in Leo in your 12th house, that what you're going to be thinking about is, I guess, your rivals. You'll be having to kind of decide, who or what will, what someone's intentions really are. And part of this is influenced by Jupiter in the third. Now, that's because they're in a square aspect, because you can see that Mercury is at 14 Leo, and it's square is in a 90-degree aspect to 14 degrees of Scorpio, where Jupiter is. So the conventional interpretation of Jupiter in the third is like luck, wealth, and expansion in the areas of siblings and friends and mobility and school and that sort of thing. So it's almost like maybe you're struggling to figure out like what someone's intentions are because of maybe a friendly relation that you have with, or rather that they have with your siblings and friends. So maybe it's like a friend of a friend who you can't really figure out, and it turns out that like they'd end up being someone you have to kind of deal with, and it's kind of annoying. So sorry for the slightly bad news about that eclipse, but the good news is that as it develops over the through the year and with the subsequent eclipses, that these things do come to an end, especially at the next solar eclipse in this cycle. So that Mercury retrograde station ends on August 19th. So that's kind of when at least the chaos will subside and when things will kind of start moving slightly more back to normal. At least until next time. There's 3 in a year. It's never far away. So let's take a look at Venus now. Venus, when we start off the month of August, Venus is in late Virgo, and that's your first house. So conventional interpretation of Venus in the first is sometimes this is when people get new haircuts, or get a new wardrobe, or change something about their appearance or improve it. It's where they present themselves nicely. They appear nicely to other people. It also can bring the topics of Venus to them. So sometimes it can be like when you attract admirers or things of that sort. And it's maybe when you yourself are motivated to, be more like Venus, to be more friendly and to be more kind to others and that sort of thing. Now, it's been in Virgo for most of the month of July, so by the time we get to August, it's close to the end. And on August 7th, Venus moves into Libra, your second house. So conventional interpretation of Venus in the second is, blessings or sweetness or nice things, like as it relates to your money and your stuff. That could mean, coming into some money and being able to buy yourself some nice things. Like it could be something of that nature. Then Venus is in Libra for the rest of the month. It makes some aspects to the planets while it's going through Venus, while it's going through Libra. But it, that's what it's doing. That's kind of the conventional interpretation of Venus going through those signs. Positive social interactions and positive sort of nice, cute, sweet things that you get to have. I don't know. That's, Venus in the second. Let's take a look at Mars, because Mars is actually doing some pretty crazy stuff this month. So at the beginning of the month, Mars is retrograde in Aquarius. It has been in Aquarius for the past 6 months, or I don't know if it's been that long, but it's been in retrograde in Aquarius for quite a while now, for the past couple months at least. And for you, it's been in your 6th house. So this should have been bringing, some amount of consternation and potentially conflicts and divisions in the workplace. And it could also bring, potentially more negatively, the issues of illnesses and injuries. Now, this, it doesn't necessarily mean that it happened to you, but it could mean that, you have troubles because of these things, perhaps that they've happened to other people, and it's affected you in some negative way as well. And it could also mean conflicts with co-workers and conflicts with people who are in subservient or service-based positions to you. I hate to sort of speak so hierarchically about that, but I mean, like service positions, like being a waiter or being a waitress or something. So that's the, if you're in that kind of position, like for your job, then it can be like troubles at work, things like that. Now, what's interesting about this month, though, is on August 13th, we can see that Mars moves back into Capricorn. So now it's back in the 5th house. So it's moving from the 6th house of injury, illness, employment, things you try to avoid, duties you try to avoid, to the house of fun and pleasure, entertainment, children, and creations, and things like that. So Mars in the 5th shows, Mars transiting through the 5th probably shows that, like, you, in order to have fun, you feel like you got to do something that is maybe a little, like, bolder or riskier, or something, maybe just like a punching bag you need to take out your frustrations on, or maybe like skydiving and you need to jump out of an airplane to feel better. I don't know. It's Mars in the 5th shows like that, you are like emboldened to like have fun, but in ways that potentially could be dangerous or risky, or if you went to like a regular party, you might be like the guy to get, maybe a little drunk and angry and violent. I don't know. I'm just processing all of the different kinds of potential outcomes of that placement. But Mars isn't in there for a very long time. So on August 28th, Mars stations direct, and so that will at least will be the kind of resolution, or the beginning of the resolution of the scars that Mars has left while going retrograde in Aquarius, and is starting to begin to move forward. So basically, for the rest of that month, Mars is still in your 5th house of fun and pleasure and entertainment, but in its own distinctly Mars-y way. So after that, or rather just before the Mars direct station, the last thing I have to say about August is there will be a full moon at 3 degrees of Pisces in your 7th house. So this will begin a 2-week-long period that has some focus or relevance for relationships, since it's in your 7th house. Now, you actually experience these every year. There's always going to be a full moon in Pisces, either in late August or sometime in September. So just go in the ephemeris and look up, like, the last time, there was a full moon in Pisces. And maybe you'll be able to see some common themes of things that happen around this time of year with relationships and compromises and things like that. So that's all I have to say about August 2018. I hope you've enjoyed this horoscope. If you liked it, please give it a like, give it a comment, a nice comment, give it a share. And if you'd like me to continue working on these monthly horoscopes, I am taking Patreon supporters, so I really don't mind if you want to do that. I will not turn you down. Even if it's just $1, I'll take it. Thank you. I really appreciate it for everyone who's been giving so far. And if you're interested in seeing what I would have to say about your chart specifically, you can look on my website where I have my services listed. So go to www.bigfatastro.com. There's a services tab. You can see what I would say. And if you want to do that, but on a budget, I also have the Big Fat Astro Natal Horoscope Report, which is $20, and you basically just put in your birth details, and it spits out a huge report that I wrote on what I have to say about each position in your chart, each planet in every sign, house, and aspect. So hopefully you find that useful. Well, I hope you have a good August 2018, and let me know how it goes. I'd be interested to hear what happens, and I will see you next time.